In this video, I'm going to talk specifically about physical boundaries. I think a lot of times that's what we usually associate when we hear about boundaries, is to protect the physical self. And in our case, after the affair, there's a lot of, I don't know, more complex things going on there because we're all kind of in a different place in our own affair recovery. So we'll address that right after this. Stay tuned. All right, so physical boundaries is exactly what you would imagine it means. It means when it comes to our body, what within this boundary is appropriate and is not appropriate. We set boundaries we don't even know we set as younger people, maybe when we were dating. We knew we weren't going to go all the way on the first date. That's a physical boundary. We knew what was okay and not okay as a, sexually speaking, as a relationship was budding. We, as children, were taught what was appropriate and not appropriate for someone touching us. That's a boundary. So we've been doing this probably without knowing we were doing this for a really long time. Now, in our case, and these are the clients I work with, are women whose husbands have had an affair and they're choosing to stay in the marriage. So there's kind of a complex layer of physical boundary on here, because as women wives who've discovered the affair, several things take place with us. And it can be a myriad of things. Some of us are repulsed and have a really hard time having any physical contact whatsoever with our spouse, especially early on. Some of us go through what's called hysterical bonding, where we are sexually energized and we desire sex with our husband constantly, and it's just this crazy bonding experience. That was me, actually. And then you can have kind of a mix of the two, where sometimes a wife might want some physical attention and sometimes she doesn't. Depending on how much information our husbands have shared about the affair, some wives have demanded every single detail about the affair. So they've got the nitty gritty. They know exactly what positions they had sex in. They know where they had sex. They know if there was oral sex involved. So in those cases, sometimes it's very difficult for a woman to allow their husband to touch them or be intimate with them, because in their minds, they're replaying the information they know. Wherever you are right now, and there's probably more scenarios, but I want to get a picture for how we're all in different places, so our physical boundaries may look a little different. But here are the key things we need to figure out as we're creating our physical boundaries. We need to ask some important questions of ourselves. What physical contact do we need from him? What physical contact do we need? And when I say need, I mean need as in, what's going to help us heal right now? Is it just that, is it holding our hand, or maybe just putting their hand on our knee when we're talking? Is it, holding us in bed at night? Is it cuddling as we watch a show together? Is it sex? Do we need more intimate physical intimacy with him? And sometimes that answer is, I can't physically do that right now. It's early on in my recovery and I just can't do it. So whatever that is, what do I need physically from him right now? The second question to ask is, what do I want? So there's need and then there's want. Because sometimes we need something lighter, like we need the hand holding, or we just need a pat on the back, or we need a hug. But what we want is to get back to where we were sexually. We really want to get back there. So what do we want? And then even go long term with that. What do I want now? And what do I want to work towards in the future? There are some women who really struggle with getting back in the bedroom after the affair. And I totally understand that. That's a difficult transition to make, especially when you have all of these images in your mind of what sex was like with the affair partner. It can plague you and make it very difficult to get turned on. It makes it very difficult to, a climax or enjoy anything. And sometimes it adds to the burden of the grief that we're experiencing. So, depending on where you are in your affair recovery, that makes a really big difference. So, what do you need from your spouse? And then what do you want from your spouse when it comes to physical intimacy? And it's not just intimacy that these physical boundaries need to stay with. Sometimes we need to ask them to sleep in another space. Where are they sleeping? Where do you want them to sleep? Sometimes we need space to ourselves. So, in COVID times, we were all stuck working from home, or many of us were. So maybe you need your own space. You need to close the doors. You need to be physically separated from him a certain amount of the day so that you have your own space to heal. Setting a boundary, physical in front of other people. What's okay? What's okay in your marriage for physical attention in front of other people? Is it okay to kiss you in public? Is it okay to hold your hand in public? What are you comfortable with? Now, all of these types of physical boundaries, again, and I said this in my very first kickoff video, this is not meant to harm our spouse. And it's not meant to control our spouse. It's identifying what we need right now from him physically and what we cannot tolerate right now. Basically, it's drawing a line around our body and saying, this is what I can do, this is what I can't. Sometimes our physical boundaries can be very specific in the bedroom. What can I do in the bedroom and what I can't do in the bedroom? What I can, what will trigger me, what won't trigger me. So think about this. What do I want? What do I need? What's acceptable in public in front of other people? What kind of physical space do I need to myself every day? These physical boundaries are very important. So see if you can't create something like this in your own marriage to identify what you need to set to have a healthy relationship moving forward. And one final thought on that. I know, because I'm in some groups on Facebook, and I've heard some women talk about the fact that they, it's been over a year since they've had sex with their spouse after they reconciled after the affair. I want to encourage you to consider what this could look like long term. Physical intimacy is important in a marriage, and it's challenging to have a relationship that's devoid of physical intimacy forever. Now, I know there are marriages out there that function like this all the time. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's challenging. So if you're struggling and it's been a year or more and you're still not able to have sexual intimacy with your spouse after the affair, I encourage you to find a counselor to work with. Find a counselor that specializes in affair recovery that can help you break that barrier, especially if you had a good sex life before the affair. That makes a lot of difference. So good luck with all of that. I know setting the boundaries is kind of challenging, but walk through that process, work through it yourself, and be as transparent as you can be with your spouse when you do finally set these boundaries up. And make sure he understands, again, this is not to punish him, harm him, or control him. This is for your well-being. And if this is sage advice and you're enjoying the videos, this and the other ones on my channel, I encourage you to subscribe. I'd love for you to get notice whenever I post a new video. And I'm doing a series on these for boundaries, and I hope you'll take the time to watch all of them and hear the suggestions I provide. And if you like what I'm saying and you'd like to hear more, I actually created some free resources I'd love for you to take advantage of. In the description of this video, you'll find a link to a free guide. Also, there's a link to a video that I created that has a lot of really great insights in there for you as well. And then I have a it's a Facebook group. I have a private Facebook group that I'd love for you to join. It's just for wives like us who have been betrayed, but we're choosing to stay in our marriage and work things out. So It's a challenging thing, I know, but I'd love for you to join our Facebook group. We're a great group of gals. It's a smaller group and it's intimate, and we support each other. So I hope you'll click the link and join us. And in the meantime, get to work on those physical boundaries and see if that doesn't help provide a great space for you to heal.